What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to a brand new commentary video. First of all, I just want to say thank you all so much for clicking on today's video, and I just want to say thank you once again for the support that you guys have been really giving us here on Point C, and we really do appreciate it. So today we're actually chilling with some Minecraft. If you are curious, this is the same realm that the podcast is a part of. If you are curious in watching more of this realm, seeing more about the podcast, there's a link down in the description for the latest episode of the podcast. Every single week we drop an episode on Thursday, so look out for that. But without further ado, I want to hop right into this. So today, we don't have a viewer suggestion, but instead we do have a topic idea that I've had sort of floating in my head for a little bit of time. And I kind of re-listened to a sort of a monologue that one of my favorite comedians gave during an interview on Opie and Anthony way back in the day. So basically, Louis C.K. So Louis C.K. is one of the most famous comedians in the world. If you're younger or around my age, you know him for very different reasons. He was unfortunately a person that was canceled a few years back during the big Me Too movement. We're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss Louis C.K.'s philosophy on writing a book. Now, when he says write a book, he doesn't mean literally write a book. What he means instead is that he breaks it down like this. He has this philosophy that throughout our day, throughout our lives, we are writing a book, right? And every single day we're writing a book. And it's essentially writing our legacy. And the idea is you are writing your legacy. And when people get to that last page, when they read the last sentence, they close that book and they put it on the shelf. What do you want them to remember? And I felt like this was something very interesting and a very interesting way to sort of live your life in the modern era of constantly feeling that we need to get things done and that there's this giant grind culture, especially now with Gen Z and unfortunately Gen Alpha as well, getting ready to grind to be able to afford to live. You know, that's been a big conversation piece of this election and this sort of media cycle that we're going through currently in 2024. But the idea here is that you are constantly writing your book. And what do you want that book to look like in the future for the people that read your book? And what do you want it to be? And if it's not what you want it to be, why aren't you making it that? Which I think is a really interesting idea. And I want to talk a little bit about what I want to be in my book, sort of what I've written down in my book and all that sort of great stuff and what I would suggest to you. So I think so first of all, I just want to break down sort of, you know, what should be the things that are in your book and sort of what are the things that you want to be remembered for. Some people want to be remembered for leaving a legacy on the world, and that's super valid and a really cool thing. Why do you want to do that, and what do you want to leave? Plenty of people that are sort of in this mindset of, you know, wanting to leave a legacy behind them sort of look for a idea of, you know, what is it exactly that they want to leave? And when it in particularly comes to me, I in particular want to leave behind a legacy of helping others and also being somebody that was always joyful and happy. That is something that I try to strive for all the time. I try to strive as somebody that's positive and is here to help people and to motivate people, right? That's what I want to be one of the main things that come when you read my book. And I feel like I've done a good job of being able to represent that and present that in a way that is digestible for the internet. I feel like I've gotten really good at that over almost the whole year that I've been doing this. Holy shit, it's already almost been a year. That's a whole separate conversation. But you know, that's sort of the thing here is being able to basically find something that you do or something that you want to do that will leave a legacy. Something that when you write it down or you think about it is so fucking cool, you want to tell the world in a book, right? You know, like when we read these biographies and we think about the world around us and we think about these celebrities that we think about all the time that have sort of created something that we use all the time or we think about all the time, you want to do that same thing. And the important thing is once again setting those goals and figuring that out, right? But if you're somebody that's, you know, depressed or isn't working towards their goals or isn't really writing down in their book a lot and is more floating through life, are you really serving the life that you want? Is that really what you want? Do you want it to be where your stories aren't passed down through generations? Is this something where you don't want to be able to, you know, create a story or a legacy that is so interesting that your kids tell it to their kids and those kids tell it to their kids, right? I mean, think about it all the time. We're not the first generation to think about this or to even debate this. For a long time, if you were like me, you heard stories about your great-grandparents and their legacies that they left behind. For my great-grandparents, they fought in World War II. They fought in Korea. They fought in these wars that really sort of, how do I put this? Like, wrote something down, right, that created such an important history in their society and in their generation that somehow has dripped into our generation. And I think that's a really interesting idea, is sort of finding what you want to do and how you can expand that into making it your legacy, which I think is a really interesting way to live. I think about that all the time. When I'm working on something like a video and I'm coming up with an idea in my head, or I'm just debating about an idea, whether if that's like merch or, whatever it may be, or my job or, whatever. When I think about these things, I sit back and I just kind of think. I let the wheels turn, right? And when I think about these wheels turning, I think about what am I doing right now that is going to create a legacy, right? And that was sort of went through my head a lot when it came to this channel. For a long time it was, oh dude, I'm leaving a great entertainment on the internet for people to find, years from now. They probably won't find those. But in my mind, when I came up with this series, I really felt like I was really writing in my book what I wanted my legacy to be. I really want it to be what I'm doing right now, right? Because I really enjoy talking about philosophy. I really enjoy talking about mental health. I really enjoy these things. And those are sort of, the two major things that I want to be, left in my legacy for people to read about and for people to, sort of think about. And another really thing that I like to sort of bring up, that we talk about in journalism, and another thing that we talk about in just writing in general, is sort of this idea of, if you're not writing about the most interesting aspect of your character or the world, why aren't you writing about that? And I think that's super important to think about in this case too. If you're somebody that isn't chasing those passions, or you're not chasing what you want to be remembered for, why is that? Why is it that you're not doing those things? Why are you not writing about the coolest thing that you could be right now? Is it a lack of motivation? What is it? Because here's the thing. At some point, we all have an expiration date. We don't know when that is. It could be tomorrow. It could be in 50 years. It could be in 10 years. We don't know. I don't know when mine is. And I hope it's not when I turn 30. I turn 30 in 10 years. I hope that in 10 years I don't die. I hope in 10 years I'm fucking doing Joe Rogan fucking smoking weed while Noah's sitting there trying to edge into the conversation to talk about Star Wars with a guy. That's what I want to do, right? So when I think about those things, and I think about all the time, when I'm editing something or I'm coming up with ideas, why am I not creating something or doing something that is going to be the most interesting part of my character, the most interesting part of what I've created, this world that I've envisioned for myself, my future, family, all these things, my future fan base, my future subscribers, all these things, right? Why aren't you doing that as well? Why aren't you stopping and having a conversation with yourself mentally and telling yourself, this is what I want? Write it down. I want you to write that down. First, that's the first important step here. Write down what you want that sort of thing to be. What is it, your legacy that you want to be? Is it what you do in work? Is it your family life? Whatever it may be, write that down first. Then I want you to think, what kind of character development is that going to take? What kind of changes are going to have to happen? What kind of grind set is it going to take? And I really think that's a really fascinating idea when we talk about, what I want in my book. I want you to figure out what is going to be in your book, because everybody's book is going to look very different. I'm sure that my mother's book is quite different than my book. Her book has to do with her being a parent and sort of, working in the industry that she's been in for so long. And I want you to compare that with people and think about what can you do differently than what other people aren't doing to create a legacy that you can be proud of. And that's really important, is being able to create something and be somebody that nobody else is being that you want to be, right? So that when people pick up your book, they're excited to read it. They're excited to learn about what you've created. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I just kind of wanted to hop on and, talk about this topic a little bit, because it truly is like a really interesting idea that I've kind of been reading about and listening to from Louis C.K. and, other people, and I think it's really interesting to talk about. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you would be so kind, there's a Discord down in the description. You are more than welcome to join. We just like to hang out, chat with you guys, all that great stuff if you feel like joining. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you all enjoyed the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and peace.